it's not funded. The question is, where can we get funding? Okay, and how can we implement the water plan? And we'll start with Mr. Burns.
That is a serious problem. Number one and number two are the budget and water, in my opinion. And the budget affects the funding for water. So we've got to get that under control. As far as funding water, we need to make it the priority it deserves to be. We can't just keep kicking it down the road because it's a long-term problem. We've got short-term mindsets. So we just passed a constitutional amendment. Texas Water Development Board has the ability to borrow $300 million to go ahead and start solving this problem. The other thing, part of the equation, is the cost of building reservoirs and pipelines. The cost is run up extremely high through all the permitting processes. We need to streamline the permitting process so that it only takes 2 to 3 years to acquire the land and the rights, and so we can start building within 2 to 3 years and not 10 or 12 years.
Thank you. Mr. Leach.
Going back to something I mentioned earlier, referring back to the state constitution, one of those core competencies that I mentioned is natural resources, and included in that is water. And water is a big issue, especially for North Texas. It's something that we've been dealing with for years. Remember, I read an interview a few years ago with Dolph Briscoe, who's a former governor of Texas. He entered the legislature right after World War II. And in an interview, someone asked him, they said, what were the main issues when you entered the legislature? And he said, education, transportation, and water. Many of the same big issues that we're dealing with today. And so these are big statewide issues that we have to be forward-looking. We have to look not just 5, 10 years, but 50 years down the road. And so in order to do that, when we go down to Austin next January, we have to make water a priority. We have to say that before we're going to focus on any pet projects or anything else that we're focused on or we think is important, we have to make sure that we're addressing issues such as water and education and transportation, and making sure first that those things are appropriately funded without raising taxes on individuals or businesses. And I believe we can do it.
Thank you. Mr. Pitchford.
I believe the question was how were we going to fund the water problem. And one of the things we need to look at again is we need to look at how efficient our government is. I believe there's enough money in the budget right now. I believe we have enough revenue that we collect that we can pay for new reservoirs. We can pay to have water pumped from eastern Texas or from Oklahoma. But we can't do it. We don't need any new taxes to do this. We need to look at the efficiencies of how we run the government. The money's there.
Thank you. Mr. Akers.
Well, actually, it's a two-phase program in my mind. Number one is short-term and the other is long-term. I think in the short term, I think we need to continue to pray for rain so that we can refill our reservoirs. Secondly, we can, there's a little device called an aerator. And if you ever look at under your faucet, there is a number on it along with the manufacturer code. But it's like, for example, from 0.0 to 0.275, which indicates the amount of water that will allow to flow through that faucet per minute. We could save millions of gallons of water short term here against the North Texas Municipal Water District by inserting those aerators. One of those aerators will save 5 gallons of water per month. The other thing is that we can, short term, we can deepen our reservoirs since they're supposedly vacant. One of the big things is the cost for land.
Thank you very much.
To be continued.